Good morning. I'm Christopher Turner, Associate State Director for AARP Florida in Tallahassee. Today, I'm here with Tasha Carter, who is Florida's Insurance Consumer Advocate within the Office of Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Petronas. We're here today to talk about protecting yourself from scams, particularly during and after a hurricane. Thanks for being with us today, Ms. Carter.
Well, good morning, Chris, and thank you so much for having me. It is my pleasure.
Good. All right, let's get started. As Floridians, we know hurricane season begins every June 1st, and that's the time we check and update our hurricane kits. But what is often overlooked is insurance and document preparation. Tell us, what are the 3 things we should be doing right now to get us post-storm ready that will best shield ourselves from fraud and scams?
Well, Chris, I think you're absolutely correct that insurance and financial matters are really often overlooked when preparing for a disaster. And the preparation from an insurance and a financial perspective is really just as important as the physical preparation of purchasing batteries, tarps, and generators. The 3 things that I would encourage consumers to do now is review their insurance policy to understand what their insurance policy covers and how much coverage they have. For example, do you have enough coverage to rebuild your home if it is completely destroyed or totally lost? Also, understanding what your policy covers can also help guard against scammers who may attempt to offer additional coverage for additional fees or persuade homeowners to make repair decisions that fall outside the scope of their insurance policy. Secondly, review your hurricane deductible. And it typically differs from the deductible that covers all other types of damages. Usually, your hurricane deductible is 2%, 5%, or 10% of the total amount of insurance that covers your home, and it can be several thousands of dollars. You also want to be aware of contractors or vendors who offer to waive your insurance deductible because that's illegal in Florida, and it essentially undermines the contract that you have with your insurance company. And then lastly, review and become familiar with the professionals that are involved in the insurance claims process, such as contractors and adjusters. Verify that all contractors are licensed and insured. Learn the difference between a public adjuster and a company adjuster. You also want to make sure that researching and knowing this information on the front end can also help to reduce the risk that unscrupulous third parties can scam you during a time when you're most vulnerable and in an emotional state. So you can also learn more about the insurance professionals and their roles and responsibilities in my Plan, Prepare, Protect, Are You Disaster Ready website and through my Demolish Contractor Fraud Steps to Avoid Falling Victim website as well.
Well, thank you very much for that. You just reminded me that I have my deck page actually on my desk and just reviewing everything as we get prepared. So thank you. Ms. Carter, last year you spoke with us about assignment of benefits, or commonly referred to as AOB. Can you remind us what an AOB is and how they work?
Absolutely. So an assignment of benefits, or AOB, is a legal contract that allows a policyholder to transfer their insurance rights to a third party or an assignee. Commonly, AOBs are used by vendors such as roofers, contractors, and water remediation companies. An assignee essentially stands in the shoes of the policyholder and has rights to the insurance claim. For example, an assignee may be able to communicate directly with the insurance company, endorse checks, receive payments directly for services, also make claim decisions, and even file a lawsuit against your insurance company, all without the consent or involvement of the policyholder. Now, I do want to point out that an AOB is not a scam when it is used correctly. Unfortunately, what we've been faced with over the past several years is unscrupulous contractors have abused and misused this legal tool that was originally designed to assist policyholders navigate the insurance claims process. The AOB becomes a scam when a third party attempts to take advantage of an insurance company by filing fraudulent claims for work not performed, subpar work, or inflated pricing. And then additionally, a third party may also use an assignment of benefits when they are filing fraudulent litigation as well. Now, one thing to remember as it relates to an assignment of benefits is we just implemented a new AOB law that requires all assignment of benefits to include a specific consumer notification that advises consumers that they are about to give up certain rights under their insurance policy to a third party. And the notification language that's outlined in that new law is extremely clear, and it also advises consumers of their cancellation options as it relates to canceling an assignment of benefits as well. Now, one of the things that I want to caution our viewers is that they have to be aware of those contracts that are not labeled as an AOB or do not include that notification language. Because what has happened is scammers have created a workaround to circumvent the new AOB law, and they have started using contracts that include some of the same terms and conditions that are specifically prohibited by the AOB law. The most common types of these contracts are direction to pay agreements. These agreements instruct the insurance company to pay the vendor directly instead of the policyholder. And under these agreements, policyholders may not be aware that insurance payments have been issued. They may not be aware of the amount of the payment, and the vendor may receive the money and never complete the work. And so it's very, very important for homeowners to understand that you do not have to sign an assignment of benefits or a direction to pay agreement in order to get your home repaired. And I encourage all consumers that if you are contemplating signing a document, that you thoroughly review that document to ensure that you understand all of the terms and conditions. And if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to contact my office.
Thank you very much. A reminder that it is still the consumer's money, and they need to be able to prepare to how it's being used. So what are the most common mistakes homeowners make post-storm that will open them up, that could possibly open them up to scammers?
Well, Chris, I think that's a very, very good question. I think some of the most common mistakes that homeowners make post-storm is, one, entering into a contract with a contractor or a vendor who has solicited their business without first verifying that those contractors or vendors are legitimate. Secondly, not thoroughly reviewing a contract or an assignment of benefits before signing it. Not reporting damage timely and allowing a third party to interpret their insurance policy and file the claim on their behalf. And then lastly, and I think this is equally important as all of the others, is making decisions during a time when you are most vulnerable and in an emotional state. If you sustain damage, I encourage consumers to first secure their safety, make sure that they're okay and that their family members are okay. Then secondly, take the appropriate steps to prevent any additional damage from occurring. And then lastly, pause before making a decision on what those next steps should be. Scammers are always looking for opportunities to defraud individuals who are vulnerable. And they are aware that post-storm can be a very hectic and emotional time for most people. And so they absolutely look to take advantage of that. And so that's why it's so important to take the steps now that we're discussing to prepare and research, because it will absolutely make the recovery process a lot easier.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. All right. Well, last question, and thank you so much for your time. What advice can you give our viewers on protecting themselves from contractor solicitation fraud? And do you have any additional resources we can direct them to?
Absolutely. So I recently launched Demolish Contractor Fraud, Steps to Avoid Falling Victim, to educate consumers on how to identify contractor solicitation fraud and how to protect themselves from becoming a victim. Unfortunately, a solicited claim typically results from an assertion of damage that, instead of being identified by the homeowner, is identified by a third party, typically a contractor. Contractors canvass neighborhoods offering incentives and financial inducements, such as $500 gift cards for a free roof inspection. And almost all of these solicitations for free roof inspections result in a filed insurance claim. Many of these filed insurance claims involve inflated pricing, AOBs, direction to pay agreements, and ultimately end up in litigation. And so I want to share an example that really illustrates how calculated and widespread contractor solicitation fraud can reach. And this is an actual example of a request for assistance that I received from a consumer. It's a Jackson County homeowner who sustained damage as a result of Hurricane Michael. He filed a Hurricane Michael claim with his insurance company and also signed an AOB with a contractor. Upon receiving payment from the insurance company, the contractor did some initial repair work, stopped, and ultimately refused to communicate with the homeowner. Several months later, the homeowner discovered that this same contractor had been previously arrested in another county for defrauding other homeowners of more than $122,000. Unfortunately, his home is still not repaired, and he's currently afraid that he may ultimately lose his home to foreclosure. And so, unfortunately, these types of examples and scenarios and consumers are contacting my office often, to find assistance for contractor fraud related issues. And so in the Demolish Contractor Fraud program, I really offer some additional consumer stories and scenarios that help to further illustrate how contractor solicitation fraud works. It also outlines some of the contractor prohibitions and unlicensed adjusting as outlined in the law. And it also includes details on how contractor fraud is committed. And then more importantly, it also maps out how consumers are being impacted as well. And so I encourage everyone to visit the site, share it with your family and friends, because stopping fraud benefits all of us.
Well, thank you very, very much for all of this. Ms. Carter, again, thank you so much for all this information, your time, the work that you do on behalf of the citizens of Florida to help them be safe and secure at this time. And thank you for all who've joined us today for this informative discussion. I know I learned a lot in preparation for this hurricane season. For more information, please visit www.myfloridaCFO.com/division/ICA/plan, prepare, protect. And also please visit AARP.org on how you can be prepared, AARP.org/FL disaster, on how you can be prepared for this upcoming season. Thank you. And on behalf of AARP Florida and the Office of the Insurance Consumer Advocate, please stay safe this season. Thank you, Ms. Carter.